AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We are not in the Raising Cane studio. We are in the South Stadium Club at Tiger Stadium on an historic day in LSU history. Anytime you hire a football coach, especially one of the ilk of Lane Kiffin, naturally it is going to be a really big day. Muse, Paulie, you're back in studio. Alondra is on site with us today. We are here because the press conference is set to start at 3:30. So when that was announced on Sunday, I made a few calls up here to Sports Information. Was like, say, can I do my show there? But they were kind enough to allow it, so we appreciate them allowing us here. Lane Kiffin will be here within the half hour, and we will carry the entirety of the Lane Kiffin press conference. As I understand, it will be President Wade Roos, Athletic Director Verge Osbury, and then Lane Kiffin to follow with remarks and questions. So we'll have all of that for you and reaction to it all, but let us begin here as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Every coaching search is unique in its own way. This one was as wild as any, maybe ever, considering all of the variables. Lane Kiffin is a huge personality, not only within college football, but transcendent in sports. People outside of the college football ecosystem know who Lane Kiffin is. He is leaving his team not only during the season, but during a run to the college football playoff, the first in this program's history, and amid the greatest season they've had in 6 decades. And not only is he leaving during this historic run, he's leaving for an SEC rival. There is a uniqueness there in the truest sense that this has never happened before. But in the end, LSU made Lane Kiffin their number one target. They navigated choppy waters, certainly over the last couple of weeks, and they got this thing across the finish line in one of the greatest coups in SEC, if not college football history. First, major credit goes to Verge Osbury. He navigated this flawlessly. Go back to the beginning of this process when LSU was without a university president, without an athletic director, without a head coach. LSU was a national laughingstock, and everybody poked fun. And I don't need to relitigate the whole thing. We all know what happened. But ultimately, Verge Osbury was charged with finding the best coach in the country. And you fast forward now. You know the old saying, loose lips sink ships. You did not hear a word from Verge Osbury or any member of that 5-member committee during this process. They communicated with Lane Kiffin early and often throughout to make sure that any potential hurdle was cleared, from salary to NIL to where Knox Kiffin is going to play high school, and to make sure he'd be eligible through the LHSAA and all of that stuff. We even saw a story today about how LSU is going to pay his bonuses due him at Ole Miss if, in fact, Ole Miss advances. LSU removed all objections, and maybe most importantly, they made him feel comfortable and wanted. While Ole Miss was pressing him and pushing him away, LSU said, you're our guy. We'll wait. Go coach the playoff. We'll wait for you. It was a masterclass in how to execute and finish a sales pitch for your coaching candidate. Hat tip Verge Osbury. aced his first test, and this was like a calculus exam for a pre-med student. This was incredible. The hire itself is a no-brainer. 2025 is arguably the worst offensive season LSU's ever had. The Tigers were 108th in scoring, 123rd in rushing, 66th in passing, and you need look no further than the game this past Saturday against Oklahoma, where any offense with a pulse wins you that football game on the road against the top 10 team. Instead, you lost because you cannot move the football. Wherever Lane Kiffin goes, offense follows. Just look at his scoring offenses since he started at Alabama in 2014. He took Blake Sims, who was a converted running back, and they were 18th in the country in scoring. Then they went to 33rd with Jake Coker and won the national championship, 13th in 2016. He goes to FAU, 7th, 49th, 12th in the country in scoring offense. Then he goes to Ole Miss, 14th, 29th, 35th, 28th, 10th, 13th. And when you look at total offense, in the last 5 years, they've not finished lower than 13th in the country in total offense in the last 5 years at Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin has won in the SEC during this era. It's been said before, but in the last 5 years, Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss has won 50 games, 5-0, 50 games in the last 5 years. The only programs in the conference to win more over that stretch are Alabama and Georgia. And this is at Ole Miss, a place where they have not won a conference title in 60 years. They're not used to that level of winning. He brought it there. And at 50 years old, he very well could be here for the next 10 to 15 years. It's kind of what you were hoping you were getting with Nick Saban back in 2000. At the time, Saban was 48. And now Kiffin is 50 at the time you hire him. That's if he stays. That's if he stays for 10 to 15 years. And that is the risk with Lane Kiffin. Now, there's a risk with every hire you make. No matter what. Brian Kelly proves this. You hired the winningest active coach in college football, and it didn't work out. So there is inherent risk in every hire you make. And LSU is paying Lane Kiffin $91 million over 7 years for an elite offensive coach who has, in his career as a head coach, won 2 Conference USA titles. That's a heavy price to pay for a guy that has not yet won at the highest level. Not at the level that they will expect here in Baton Rouge. He has to prove that he is a championship coach. He is a brilliant offensive mind. He is arguably the greatest offensive coach in football right now. He has got to prove that he can take that next step to being a championship coach as well. A year ago, Ole Miss had what I thought was the best roster in all of college football. They went 9-3. Inexplicably lost to a Kentucky team that won 1-7 in the SEC. They lost in Baton Rouge in the stadium in the field just in front of me here, a game they had no business losing, and then lost to a Florida team with a coach on the hot seat. He's got to be able to get over that hump. And Lane Kiffin's reputation is earned. It was a messy ending in Oakland with Al Davis. He left Tennessee in the middle of the night after one season. He got fired on the tarmac at Southern Cal. He goes to Alabama, where he's dismissed before the national championship game because he was a distraction. And now how this ended at Ole Miss, obviously. These are all earned parts of his story. These are chapters in the Lane Kiffin book, and these are earned parts of his reputation, a reputation he has worked very hard to rebuild and to rehabilitate, even going so far as to participate in a documentary that aired and was released before this football season. If you're LSU, you know what you're getting into. You're getting into bed with a coach who has a history of leaving places, of looking at the shiny new thing, of moving on. And what might that be for Kiffin now? I don't know. Maybe it's the NFL in 4 to 5 years. But what we know is that today, Lane Kiffin is the head coach at LSU for the exact reason that we've been saying for the last 2 weeks. The ceiling is lower at Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin wants to win national championships and consistently compete for them, and he can do that here, which is why he left a place that I believe him when he says he loved. He loved Oxford. He loved Ole Miss. The people there were great to him. He wanted to coach his team. I believe all of those things are genuinely true. But I think Lane Kiffin also knows his ceiling at Ole Miss was lower. which is why he's here now. And Lane Kiffin will use LSU and the resources here to get where he wants to go, which is to a national championship. And en route, LSU will enjoy the fruits of those labors. So, buckle up and enjoy the ride, because one thing is for absolute certain about Lane Kiffin: it is never, ever, ever boring. Lane Kiffin will be introduced here over my shoulder as the new head coach at LSU in about 19 minutes. Show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Crack open a few ice-cold Bud Lights and toast the new head coach of the LSU Tigers, Lane Kiffin. Hey, our show, you can buy, of course, Bud Light at Rouse's. Our show is brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Go pick up some ice-cold Bud Light over at Rouse's. Thanksgiving in the rearview mirror. Christmas is ahead. Starting to get you ready for those Christmas parties. Holiday season is here. You need your bourbons, your wines, your beers, or anything for your Christmas or holiday parties. Rouse's has got you covered. So go to Rouse's.com or just pop into your nearest Rouse's. They got 70 locations across the South, from Lake Charles to Orange Beach and points in between. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, y'all, we are here today live from South Stadium Club in Tiger Stadium. Lane Kiffin, introductory press conference set to start here in about 18 minutes from right now. We will carry it for you live, as I understand. President Wade Roos will speak, Virgil Berry will speak, then Lane Kiffin will have his opening remarks, and then take questions from the media. We will grab a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with plenty of reaction from the Lane Kiffin hiring and what we know as of right now will happen with Lane Kiffin staff, recruiting, tons and tons and tons to unpack and digest as we move throughout these 3 hours. I'm glad you're with us on AFR.
After further review.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential, think real estate, think Darren James. Want to give you the website, agent225.com, agent225.com. Go there, start there. Most user-friendly website in real estate. Listen, if you're thinking of selling your home, start at agent225.com, but remember all the many different ways that Darren James goes above and beyond, like his guaranteed sale program. Sit down with Darren, agree to a price and a deadline. If Darren doesn't sell your home at that price by that deadline, he'll have your home bought with cash or he'll sell it for free. There's the Love It or Leave It program. Buy a house from Darren. If you have to move for whatever reason within a year, he'll sell that house for you for free. And there's no obligation. If at any point you're not thrilled, Darren will let you out of a contract free and clear. But you won't, because Darren James gets results. So call Darren James at 335-7666 or log on to agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
But I think Lane's decision is going to come down to one thing, and that thing is, where is the place that I can recruit the best players? And I think, one of Lane's apprehensions is he's had to use the portal to build his team at Ole Miss each year. And at LSU, he probably could recruit better talent and then just supplement his team by need with the portal. And that's probably the dilemma that he has, as well as his loyalty to his team that he's coaching now, that he wants to be able to continue to coach.
Nick Saban Saturday on College Game Day. It was interesting because when Nick said that, it was parroting something that we've said here, and I don't mean to suggest that this is a unique thought of me or anyone, but it is certainly the thing that Lane Kiffin has expressed to people close to him, which is the reason he was looking at LSU is in this new NIL era. There is a sense from some, and certainly Lane Kiffin is in that group, and I suspect when he speaks here shortly, we'll hear him say something along these lines. But Lane Kiffin has a sense that college football in the new era of NIL is going to revert to what it was pre-NIL, where the Blue Bloods have the advantage. And that's what Nick Saban was saying there. Now, understand what I mean is to play, because someone last week, why would he leave Ole Miss? He's at a place where he's won. He's got the team in the playoff. Clearly, he's shown he can win there. Making a 12-team playoff does not mean you're going to win the national championship. And we've gone through these odds before. Ole Miss has but the 9th best odds to win the national championship. That was before Lane Kiffin left. So they're going to make the playoff and have a home game and potentially be the 5th seed and compete against probably the highest ranked G5 team, win that game, move on to a quarterfinal game and probably lose. But however it would play out. But it's not about making a 12-team playoff. It's about winning a national championship. And in the first iteration of the NIL era, Ole Miss was outstanding at this, where you could go raise money, dump it into the Grove Collective, and then go spend $400,000 on a backup lineman or $4 million on a quarterback or whatever it is. You could fund it. Well, in the NIL era, where accompanying or complementing rev share, where every deal over $600 has to go through the NIL Go clearinghouse overseen by Deloitte, you now have to have a plan to be able to get those NIL monies approved to the athlete. It doesn't do you any good to have a big pile of money to spend if you can't get the NIL deals approved to get the money to the student athlete. So that's the concern that Lane Kiffin has. So is to say the historic powers, the big brands, are going to have an easier time doing that. And I think LSU certainly is in that mix. So I think when you hear when you hear Nick Saban say that on College Game Day, it's something that I said on my Locked On LSU podcast a week ago, and here and after further review. It's something that is known, that Lane Kiffin is communicating to people near him and close to him that he trusts, because I think that is absolutely indicative of how he feels right now in this era. So it's going to be a really fascinating transition here, because with Lane Kiffin landing in Baton Rouge on Sunday, everything very quickly shifted to building a staff, and now the early signing period is 2 days away on Wednesday. So the very quick pivot to building a staff and this recruiting class is where all of the attention turns. As a matter of fact, when Lane landed in Baton Rouge on Sunday evening, I had someone who was at the MMR hangar there, part of the welcoming party, say to me that Lane did all the pleasantries. They took photos, a lot of which you've seen photos and videos, and meet and greets with the Board of Supervisors and Matt Borman, the head of TAF, and of course Wade Roos and Verge Osbury and everybody that was there, the search committee that hired him, and very quickly said, I need to get to work. And so we've got a lot of phone calls to make. So Lane didn't go check in at Lot Cook, didn't go drive around Baton Rouge, didn't go to Tiger Stadium. We went right to football ops with his staff and had a meeting with the existing LSU staff and the staff members that he brought with him on Sunday night from Oxford. There still could be more to come, by the way. We'll talk about that as we move throughout the day, and I would suggest Lane's probably going to have something to say about that during his press conference here in just a little bit. But what we know as of now, as all of this has transpired throughout the last couple days, is with Ole Miss promoting Pete Golding to their full-time head coaching position, much of the defensive staff at Ole Miss is expected to stay in Oxford, while more of the offensive staff is coming to Baton Rouge. A few of these things are things that we've been talking about now for more than a week. So the general manager, Billy Glasscock, was on the flight. He came with Lane Kiffin, and he is now here in Baton Rouge. So Billy Glasscock is here. A lot of people have asked what that means for Austin Thomas. You can't have two GMs. So Billy Glasscock's here. He's going to be the LSU general manager under Lane Kiffin. I don't know how. Maybe you reassign Austin Thomas within the athletic department. I don't want to speculate there, but it just stands to reason you can't have two general managers. So it looks like there clearly is going to be a change there. There was a lot of question about Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss, who did also get on the plane. There has been some conversation, as I understand from the Ole Miss side, that he could actually return to Oxford to coach the playoff before then coming back to Baton Rouge, which is interesting because a lot of the reports coming out of Oxford on Sunday were if you get on that plane, Or if you're leaving, leave now because you ain't staying. So that's interesting. Their co-OC, Joe Cox, also was on the plane to Baton Rouge yesterday. So Lane Kiffin and the two co-offensive coordinators from Ole Miss are both in Baton Rouge right now. I don't know what Ole Miss is going to do as far as trying to build a staff. Our buddy Neil McCready from Rebels 247, who's done an incredible job reporting on this story from the Ole Miss side, is going to join us in hour 3 to kind of get an update. We'll have some of these staff conversations. But in addition, George McDonald, the wide receivers coach, is also joining Lane Kiffin here in Baton Rouge. Senior Associate AD for Football Operations, Thaddeus Rivers, is in Baton Rouge. The head strength and conditioning coach, Nick Savage, is in Baton Rouge as well. And there's 2 other coaches that I was told today Lane Kiffin is still trying to convince to join him. They're offensive coaches. It's Kevin Smith, the running backs coach, and then Garrison, the offensive line coach, are 2 coaches that are still in Oxford today, but I'm told they have family members here in Baton Rouge today who are are we starting? Well, we're either starting or we're about to say the national anthem. Do I Alondra, can you see if anybody's going up to the podium? I have my back to everything over here. So, what's that? Okay, no one's up at the podium. All right, let's do this. Let's make sure we stay on time. So let's knock out a quick break. And when we come back, we should have the start of the Lane Kiffin press conference here from the South Stadium Club. It is AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 beautiful hotel properties.
Renaissance, Baton Rouge, 2 amazing hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark, downtown, Renaissance, Southtown. Of course, every Friday before home football games, it is at the Renaissance, Baton Rouge, where the LSU Tigers set up shop. And with the holidays here, what an awesome opportunity to discover Renaissance Baton Rouge. If you have family or friends coming in town, make sure they know about Watermark Downtown and Renaissance Southtown. Watermark Baton Rouge's premier hotel property, a beautiful luxury hotel in downtown Baton Rouge. And then Renaissance, sprawling right there on Bluebonnet, is an amazing place to have dinner there at Tallulah inside of Renaissance Baton Rouge, or to stay in one of their plush guest rooms, or, of course, any event that you may have around the holidays. Make sure you check out Watermark and Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
LSU.
Well, the easy answer is LSU is a much better job, but that is until you look at the last couple of years when Ole Miss has been the better program and is infinitely better right now. LSU fired its coach and paid him $53 million, so it looks like a better program for this reason. National championships seem to come to LSU. Saban won one. Les Miles won one. Ogeron won one with Joe Burrows. Ole Miss hasn't won a national championship in college football since John Kennedy was president, so that's why it looks that way, but in many ways, Lane Kiffin had a much better program where he was until yesterday.
It's Paul Feinbaum on Get Up. We're here at South Stadium Club here awaiting Lane Kiffin's arrival. Press conference is set to begin here in just moments, and certainly a big part of this conversation nationally is going to be exactly what you heard Feinbaum say there, which is leaving a team amid a playoff run and why he would leave Ole Miss. But I think the reality is something, and I fully understand that this is going to be perceived as an LSU guy, but is stumping for the home team. But you can just look at the actions. Look at Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame. Look at Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss amid the situation. It's not about who can have a good team. It's about competing for championships. And Ole Miss hasn't won a conference championship in 6 decades. It's because the resources are different. Don't know any other way to say it. I mean, Mississippi, and I do honestly, I empathize with Ole Miss fans. I know this isn't head patting. This is legitimate, because I think in an odd way, LSU fans are the ones who actually are uniquely positioned empathize with Ole Miss fans, because LSU went through this with Nick Saban, where you had a coach that loved you, that you loved, gave him every resource, had won there, family loved your town, everything was all there. But wanted something you couldn't provide. LSU couldn't give Nick Saban the NFL. And Ole Miss can't, like Mississippi can't become a more populous state. Mississippi State isn't going to go away. You're going to be one of two SEC schools in a southern town that is not resource rich. It's just, there's a reason why Ole Miss hasn't won anything in 6 decades. So I can understand Ole Miss fans' frustration, but I would also say, the best way to say it is that Nick Saban said it's not a Lane Kiffin problem, it's a college football problem, and he's right. The irony of this whole situation is that the calendar was adjusted such that they figured it would make it easier for coaches to build their rosters. Early signing period, early transfer portal, one portal window in January. And what's ended up happening is it's moved up all of these coaching cycles into the season. I mean, I've said it before, but James Franklin was both fired and hired with 2 weeks left in the regular season. I mean, it's the calendar, the cycle has just completely changed now because of this calendar. And if you want to fix this, you got to fix the calendar. I do have some more thoughts on that. Let me, we got to make sure we stay on time. So let me remind you about South Point Volkswagen at southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. Southpointvw.com. Sign then drive is going on right now at South Point Volkswagen Airline just north of Highland, and online at southpointvw.com. 0 down, 0 due at signing, no first month's payment, no security deposit. Just sign your name and drive away in a brand new Volkswagen from South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. It is South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? We're going to hear from Lane Kiffin here in just a moment whenever he takes the podium, and it'll be fascinating to hear how all this transpired. And the room is filling up here, and it's pretty much every dignitary you can imagine. It's LSU's athletic administration. There are current and former athletes here. There are the members of the Board of Supervisors. Of course, the university administration is here. There's boosters here. I saw Gordon McKernan just a bit ago, Richard Lipsey. Basically, everyone of significance who has meant something to this university is here today, and you can understand why it's such a marquee event. You don't hire a football coach very often, and certainly one of this grandiose stature is going to carry the weight and the gravity of a day like this. But when Kiffin was boarding the plane to leave Oxford on Sunday, amid the jeers from Ole Miss fans, he stood and visited with Marty Smith, and he told the story again, something we referred to last week about his dad and moving so much. And again, give this a listen. This is what Lane said on Sunday about the decision to leave.
It was really difficult. This has been a really special place. 6 years here. I know that there's a lot of feelings and emotions right now around. I hope when they settle down that there's an appreciation about what we were able to do here and having, the best run that's ever been done in the history of the school, and brought some exciting times. So I'm so appreciative to the people of Oxford and the relationships that I developed here. And when I spoke at my dad's funeral, he moved 17 times. And I realized when all the people, I got all the letters, calls, people showed up from around all those different spots, NC State, all the different spots he coached. And they said he was able to impact them and how much that meant to them. And so I've really strived since that day to really try to impact people and help people through life, through my journey. So just prayed a lot and made a family decision, and hopefully get a chance to go, impact a whole new set of people.
And obviously a chance to win at LSU. But again, Lane referenced speaking at his dad's funeral at the press conference a week ago in Oxford and said something similar. And to me at the time, that was an indicator that he was going to leave. Sort of tilling the soil and telling you how this was all going to go down. And as the show progresses today, we'll talk plenty about Lane's decision, how it ultimately came to this and why he made the decision, how the whole process played out. We'll hear more from Wade Roos and Verge Osbury here as well. But, this weekend, I thought, this isn't an Ole Miss show. I'm not going to focus on Ole Miss too much. but they are part of this story, and it's sort of interwoven, and it matters very much because not only did you strengthen your program in hiring Lane Kiffin, but you also weakened a rival that you face every year. But the very visceral reaction from Ole Miss fans, as I said a bit ago, I do understand. And I think LSU fans are in a sort of a rare position to be able to empathize a bit. But I also look at how this all transpired certainly over the last 2 weeks. And I shared this on Twitter on Saturday when the meeting with Lane Kiffin kept getting moved back further and further. And the point I made, in a viral tweet, much to the dismay of many Ole Miss fans, was that Keith Carter, their athletic director, shares his chunk of the blame in how this all transpired the way that it did. Because, look, being a leader, a manager, a boss, if you own a company, if you're a manager of people, it doesn't matter if you're an athletic director, if you own a small business with 20 employees, if you manage a multinational, whatever it is, if you manage people, you get paid to make really tough decisions. And the reality is Keith Carter was unwilling to do that over the past 2 weeks or even 2 months. And, I tweeted this, and it's been seen 6.5 million times now on Twitter. I said, look, a few things are clear, and this was Saturday. This was during the LSU-Oklahoma game. Lane wants the LSU job and wants to coach his team in the college football playoff. Ole Miss is not going to let him do so, but doesn't want to sabotage their best season in 60 years. Keith Carter gets paid to make tough decisions, so make one. His inability or unwillingness to lead has allowed this to fester and become borderline toxic. All of the conversations I had with Ole Miss people over the past couple of weeks indicated there were high-level people within that athletic department, players, boosters, that wanted that to end. They wanted Keith Carter to make a decision to move on from Lane Kiffin, to promote Joe Judge to the interim and let this team go forward distraction-free. But instead, it kept pushing both Kiffin and Carter kept kicking the can down the road because Lane wanted to coach his team, something that they made clear to him was not going to happen. And then similarly, Carter wanted to keep winning and thought Lane being in place gave them the best opportunity. So ultimately got to this point where you polish off the regular season. The longer you waited, the more difficult this decision was going to be. And it led to that very toxic situation with the 4-hour meeting on Saturday, which ultimately led with the decision announcement coming on Sunday, which then got delayed, and Kiffin on a plane to Baton Rouge and Ole Miss fans melting. It just feels like there could have been a more decisive way to handle this weeks prior. And it's very clear Keith Carter was unwilling to make a decision and did not have a backup plan. He was still holding out hope that he would be able to convince Lane Kiffin to stay at Ole Miss, which is why they didn't have another option for head coach. The coaching carousel was spinning. The game of musical chairs, the music was playing. When the music stopped, everyone had a coach except Ole Miss because they weren't prepared to pivot to their next option. I was told John Summerall would have been interested in Ole Miss, but Keith Carter didn't go engage with John Summerall because he was afraid of upsetting Lane Kiffin throughout this process and potentially pushing him away. But he was already gone. It's the thing that the Ole Miss fans in time may recognize. Maybe they never will. But Keith Carter is as culpable in this as Lane Kiffin. Kiffin certainly could have just walked away, or he could have stayed. But absence of that decision, everybody works for somebody, and Lane Kiffin worked for Keith Carter, and Carter was unwilling to make a decision, and that allowed this to fester the way it did. So, can you see? There's a hush over the crowd again. I'll let Alondra look. We're brought to you by Evamore, EVAMOR. I'll tell you right now. It is important to stay hydrated right now. So make sure you're drinking a great Louisiana product. That's Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. You can find Evamore at great local retailers. You find the retailer near you at Evamore.com, Evamore.com. And, of course, walk into any great retailer and find it there, or you can order it online at Evamore.com. Natural artesian water, a better form of hydration, a healthier product. It is Evamore, EVAMOR. Drink Evamore. Okay, it is After Further Review. We are here. Y'all just watching me, huh? Everybody's watching me. That's fine. I'll be the show for a little while. as we wait on Lane Kiffin's press conference here to be introduced, as we understand, President Wade Roos for Jawsbury likely to speak, and then after that, Lane Kiffin will be introduced as LSU's new head coach as we wait. So we'll knock out a break, and we'll continue waiting as soon as he takes the podium. We'll have it for you here live on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and all our great affiliates. Stay with us here on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. I love telling you about Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, amazing place where if you're an adult human and you have not run your blood labs and you have not even considered what your life and quality of life might be like with hormone replacement therapy, you are not living your best life. Point blank. Now, you may run that blood panel and realize that you are... your hormone levels are totally normal for your age, and you feel great, and that's awesome, and you don't need any therapy. But what I would say to you is, generally speaking, you don't know how bad you feel until you start feeling good again. Our feeling is normal. We become normalized to how we feel, even when we don't feel good. A simple blood test can let you know if you could change the way you feel every day. So visit yourgoodwood.com. Again, it's yourgoodwood.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
So we wait. I was just told that Lane Kiffin is here in Tiger Stadium. There are offices below the South Stadium Club. There's the brand offices here. By the way, as we talk about why LSU, they literally have an entire department in the athletic department called The Brand. It's specifically focused on how they accentuate LSU's brand and all different things and ways and cultivate a lot of those relationships. It's gorgeous. By the way, whenever you see all the recruiting photos, like with the with that like graffiti wall and all, like they take those photos there in the brand, and there's the podcast studio that's all down on that floor. So as I understand, Lane Kiffin is there in the brand. So I see Chris Kiffin here. What's that? What? Oh, you were saying the same thing?
Saying the same, but I just saw Chris.
Yeah, Chris Kiffin's here. As I look around the room, wearing LSU shorts and an LSU hoodie. Gotta love that. So good. All right, we are, our Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Anyway, so Lane Kiffin is here in Tiger Stadium, and they're literally just waiting for him to come up the elevator. And I asked a couple of the sports information folks, Kirby, Bill Franquez were over there, and I asked, does anybody have any idea? Like, yep, he's just downstairs, going through the offices and all, come up when he's ready. So if you want to, sure. Look who's here. Gordy Rush.
Sorry, Matt. So down on the brand floor, there was a conference room with some dignitaries down there.
Okay, that's what he's doing.
So he stopped there.
Got it.
Stopped there. I said hello to the dignitaries and came up here. There's free coffee up here.
There is. It's right there.
Yep.
Right to our left. So this is a room where basically everybody who is has a meaningful role within LSU, the university or the athletic department is here right now. So Chris Kiffin's here as well. He just came up. That's Lane's brother. How do you think the day has gone, or the weekend into today around here?
About as I expected. We all felt like Lane was going to come here, and it had to come quick because of National Signing Day. So it's good. News cycle is going to be crazy. Who's staying? Who's going? You've been following the recruiting stuff. I've seen one flip to LSU potentially. 6 guys from Ole Miss. Somewhere it was 4 to 6.
It's 4. Ole Miss has had 4 decommitments already out of their class, and it looks as though LSU is going to land one flip from Oklahoma. There's a receiver.
Braden Allen
out of Lafayette Christian, who was committed to Oklahoma. He decommitted. Shea Dixon, others immediately put in their flip prediction to LSU. So it's the timing of this is so complicated because they're trying to figure out staff, and then you've got signing day on Wednesday. So I think probably the most important decision I think here in the next 36 hours they're going to have to make is Frank Wilson.
Yeah.
Not only is he LSU's interim head coach, but he's such a key part of what LSU is doing recruiting. And one of the one of the staff members that, as I understand, is still undecided if he's joining LSU or staying in Oxford is Kevin Smith, their running backs coach.
That's right.
And so if Kevin Smith comes, Frank Wilson then wouldn't be your running backs coach. And so what do you do?
And then what commitments are tied to Frank Wilson, right? And I heard tonight, and tonight he gave him till tonight was the deadline. Was it for the staff?
I haven't heard
so many things at that. And I think that from the Ole Miss standpoint, from what I understand, they were surprised. They threw the kitchen sink at Charlie Weiss, and he decided to come down here. And I think they were surprised that the running back coach stayed and has still stayed. Now, whether or not he continues to stay and what negotiations going on, we'll see.
What I don't mind sharing on Kevin Smith, who's a running backs coach. Remember Kevin Smith, who played at Central Florida?
Yes.
And played in the NFL with the Detroit Lions, had a good NFL career. He's been with Lane since FAU.
Yeah.
So FAU then to, I think he might be coming up now. Well, this is the third. Oh, he's here. Okay. All right. It looks like, Landry, can you just jump on mic and fill us in what's happening over there?
Yeah, I think it was him. I think it was Lane that just walked in.
Okay. I know they have all the, it's like a wedding.
Well, you have the Board of
the
Supervisors. Sports Properties has some key advertisers. The dignitaries are here.
Okay, I was wrong.
We're wrong.
I can't see. I don't have my glasses on.
Hiller Moore is here. Mayor Edwards is here. The governor, I saw his chief of staff was here. And so who's who definitely is here.
I'll finish the thought that it was just made by Kevin Smith. So as I understand it, there's some family considerations.
Right.
Kevin Smith's wife and the offensive line coach, Garrison.
Yes. John Garrison, yeah.
John Garrison, yeah. So their spouses are in Baton Rouge today and seeing if it's a move they may want to make, but that's still undecided. A fascinating part of this is even if you mentioned Charlie Weiss Jr., if he does end up coming to LSU, does he go back and coach the playoff, which it seemed like that was not going to be an option for these Ole Miss staff members if they left Ole Miss. But then Ole Miss is going to be preparing for a playoff game, and they don't have any coaches, any offensive coaches.
Somebody's got to call plays. Yeah, and somebody's got to call plays. I don't believe Joe Judge he's a quarterback coach. He hasn't called plays, right, to the best of my knowledge. So he's a special teams guy that worked his way up through the NFL. So who's going to call plays for him?
We're here at South Stadium Club waiting on LSU football coach Lane Kiffin to come up the elevator and begin this press conference, which was supposed to start at 3:30. We're on Les Miles time.
I started laughing. That's exactly what I said. I mean, because the thing about Brian Kelly, he was never late.
Brian Kelly was
never
so
late.
Precise.
Was never late. And then all the years for Les Miles. In fact, the origin of that show,
for real this time he came up.
Okay, thank you.
The press conference, so he's here. So let's do that. That's more important than this story.
No, he's not walked over yet. So.
I'm sorry. So anyway, LSU started the show that Blair and I now do, Blair in the press conference. We did it with Hawthorne because of Les Miles. And there were times that he would be on time, and there were times he would be 50 minutes late. And so Hawthorne and I Jim's like, let's look at the special team stats, bud. It was great radio.
You can hear the applause. LSU head football coach Lane Kiffin is here, and we will throw it over to the podium just as soon as they start speaking here from South Stadium Club.